as a principal rule, don't really agree with the two-party system. I would do anything to completely demolish.
Please swap your vote. Swap your vote. Please swap your vote. I don't know if Pete Buttigieg knows about that.
And even if I'm pointing to statistics around the number of jobs or growth, like that doesn't mean much if you don't feel like things are affordable. The case I want to...
He's a politician. He has to see. He's a politician, so he can't gaslight voters. Okay, but the correct answer is to gaslight voters. That's the correct answer. To pull up the Fred graph and say you're dumb. Okay, and I don't care about your situation. This is a statistical question, and the statistics are on my side. Okay?
Donald Trump has said that he wants to revoke the licenses of television networks that have broadcast coverage that he disagrees with. I can't think of...
and people burning the flag and deporting pro-Hamas protesters. I never engaged with like the legal arguments in Roe v. Wade. Like Roe v. Wade, for all I know, could be a really bad ruling. What I care about is codifying it. Like what I care about is to women have the right to abortion. We are very close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. So subscribing right now will help out a lot. One politician versus 25 undecided voters, featuring Pete Buttigieg. I'm glad they got Pete. Pete, I think, does really well in these type of things. Really well in these type of like debates, on either like Fox News or interviews and stuff like that. I think the steel jobs Trump protected cost way more than the wages than those jobs that were predicted. Probably, yeah. I don't know, like the steel tariffs were so bad, but...
Michigan. Pittsburgh, Michigan.
And I'm an undecided voter.
I am an undecided voter.
I'm an undecided voter.
What I want voters like you to hear is anything but a vote for her works out to being a vote for him right now. Yeah, because this is a swing state. And it could come down to like a couple votes per precinct, and one of those might be you.
Everyone take a moment, cast your vote.
I wasn't going to vote at all, actually, but after hearing him, I'm pretty confident in my decision now.
Before, I was undecided. At the conclusion of this event, I did mark down...
I'm Pete Buttigieg. I'm a father of two, a veteran of the Afghanistan war. I served as mayor of my hometown in Indiana, and now I live in Michigan. And today, I'm surrounded by 25 undecided voters. My first claim is Donald Trump is only running for president for himself. Kamala Harris is running for president to make your life better.
Oh, they actually have a surrounded format. Hell yeah, based. This is also an incredibly based prompt. This is like the best way to do the to appeal to a lot of undecided voters. I actually did like, the one thing I did like from Ben Shapiro is he actually had a good way of like explaining some different types of elections. That sounds like you got TDS, really? This election is very much like what Ben called like a cares about me election. None of the candidates are really running on unity. None of the candidates are running on, there's another type of election. Not you to miss it. Oh, okay. It's a cares about me election. Which candidate cares more about me? That's a big thing for undecided voters.
Morning.
Hello, good morning. Hi. So I agree with you. I think that Trump is very selfish. I don't think he's doing it for the people. He wants to do it for his own personal needs, or not really sure why. But I do agree Kamala is a prosecutor, so she tries to do it by the book, and she wants to bring justice.
Sorry, did a great job. Thank you, Ben Brody. Welcome to the stream. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
She wants to bring equality, and she wants to do it for others. It's
I
not
love
really
all the new hippy dippy
about her. So
here.
I think that with Kamala, she's really good, but there's things that have happened in the U.S. that it's like bringing really big conversations due to the fact of some people not agreeing with things that she's allowed. I feel like there's a different way on how we can do things. Just because the U.S. is in debt, $35.7 trillion.
Okay, so the deficit, we don't like the deficit. Hopefully, I'm assuming people who just know the talking point, like basically every analysis shows Trump increasing the deficit by more than Harris.
The way that we make decisions when it comes to money and economy, every American in the U.S. should agree with. Sometimes decisions...
And also, drill down on the tariffs. Say Trump wants to tax you 10% more for all your groceries. Say it.
Money is being spread out in different countries or in different ways, and the people from the U.S., we're still in debt. We're still struggling. We're still paying those taxes. So I just feel like we should meet each other in the middle somewhere, because our opinion really matters. With Trump, though, he never cared. So
I feel like kind of what I'm hearing you say is you agree that Trump is in it for himself and that she's in it to make things better.
Yep.
But that still might not decide how an election ought to go because of frustration about how things are right now.
Exactly.
Is that fair? I think part of what I would say, I don't disagree that we got a lot of problems right now, right? I think part of what I would say is that every election then is about what happens next, right? And it's not that anybody's got an easy fix for some of the problems you just named. They're huge problems. That's why they're still there. Otherwise, somebody would have fixed them. But the case I want to make is that she's going to be better able to address them, even if there's no magic wand on some of this stuff, because she cares.
He's just appealing to character, which is fine. But
specific ideas that I think are going to help. You take the debt. Let's be honest. The debt has grown under Democratic presidents and under Republican presidents, right? But I would also say the biggest reason the debt grew under Donald Trump was that he was using the debt to pay for tax cuts for the rich.
True.
And
thank you, Mr. Spam, for the follow. I appreciate it.
That's different from something that's the equivalent of taking out a loan for
Destiny doesn't lose, buddy. True,
business.
Blaze. Welcome to the stream.
Or mortgage, which is what I feel was done on something like infrastructure investment, right? So I think the most important thing now is, okay, nobody's saying everything's perfect. Far from it. But then what? Like, what happens next, right? And that's where I feel like the choice is so clear right now.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, I agree.
Come on, Terrace. He wants to tax you 10% more. Trump wants to tax you 10% more. Not only did Trump get tax cuts to the rich during his first term, but he wants to do regressive taxes that tax poor people way more than rich people. He wants to do his tariffs. Come on, Pete.
If someone else wants an opinion, I'll give them right now.
Thank you.
Damn.
I'm Sailor. Nice to meet you. So you said the claim that Kamala's running because she wants to make things better, and Donald Trump said
They said leaning third party. Oh.
or that he's just running because
Is this going to be a single issue Gaza?
he's running for himself. I think anybody that's in politics is doing it for themselves, if we're being honest. Anybody that's in government, anybody who's doing this, they have a background where they're passionate about something. But if we're being real, if you're running for president and you've been in politics this long, it is really, truly about yourself. The issue
Can I
that
challenge that, though?
sure.
mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody who's running for president is without ambition.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't think that means that your core motivation
Just
is
look
it's
at
about
her.
you. I think that people, like you said, get into politics or public service out of idealistic reasons, you hope,
Yeah.
at least some of the time. But I think there's two very different paths in the two different candidates, right? So you look at him. This is obviously not somebody who, felt
You would be. Why are we being so rude? Okay, don't be. I reach out to a lot of the Jubilee people, guys. We can't be rude to them. Okay.
motivated to join the school board in his local community,
Yeah.
wound up running for mayor, and then ran for president. This is somebody who ran for president, in my view, basically as a branding exercise, and then won. With her, like she did
Yeah.
come up as a line prosecutor, right? And served as a prosecutor, served as AG, served as a senator, served as VP. I get what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
anybody in politics, there's ego there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I really feel that the things she's putting forward are more about solving our problems than the things he's putting forward.
Yeah, so I will say I'm not someone who would vote for Trump. I'm actually third party.
I see.
So Jill Stein, for example, I'm a hard.
Yep. I knew it. I knew it was gonna be single issue Gaza. Oh, of course. All right. I think Pete Buttigieg did a good job there. He also should have mentioned there's this like hilarious clip of Trump being asked like, what would you do? What would you do to bring like car manufacturing jobs back to Detroit? And he literally rambles on saying, "Well, I was in this town and they gave me Man of the Year." I think I have it here actually. Yeah, what actions will you do to ensure that jobs stay in America so we continue to build a best car manufacturing? And why is it doing this? So pretty much what we've been saying, look, what I want to do is this. It's a bunch of Ridley answers. Then he's like, I was in this town. They gave me Man of the Year maybe 20 years ago. He doesn't actually answer the policy question, and all he does is ramble about how he got Man of the Year. It's wild. With the fact that like when he said that like he was calling the hot mic saying when people in North Korea when Kim Jong-un steps out they all listen to him and he wants his people to do that. Like there are so many things like that show like Trump is like pretty clear. Grab her by the pussy. Even you're a star, you can do whatever you want. Grab them by the pussy. Like even that.
Hardcore environmentalist, conservationist. I'm an amateur entomologist, love bugs, but very big into the environment. I was a part of the Climate Corps in Michigan, so I know a lot about the environment. And I understand that Kamala has a lot of initiatives that she's put forth. I mean, during the Biden-Harris administration, you had the passing of the American Climate Corps, which is fantastic because I was part of that.
Oh, that's great. You
However,
served in that?
yes, I did.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So, but the problem that I see is I feel like
Ever
I'm
seen
very
Tony Blair
against the
talk?
two-party
No.
system. It's because I used to be a part of it. I was a hardcore Democrat for a very long time. I worked on Elissa Slayton's
face?
campaign. I did a bunch of work. So I have lost a lot of faith in our two-party system, and I want to see something different because when we have something where it's insanity, you have the same thing over and over and over again.
But here's what I want to try to convince you
Sure.
of, right? Yes, neither party is perfect. You've probably been let down by your party from time to time.
Yes.
All of us have. However, one of two things is about to happen, right? Jill Stein is not going to become president of the United States. Donald Trump is, or Kamala Harris is, right?
True.
And all of the things from an environmental perspective that were just achieved, these are not like little differences between center left and center right? You got one set that's saying climate change is a hoax, it's not even a thing.
Yeah, I'm
And the
not.
other
I'm not
side
in support of Trump at all.
Right,
This
right.
is completely
What I'm
against
saying is
Kamala.
if he gets
and
back
Jill.
in, then the Inflation Reduction Act will be demolished.
That is
right?
true.
So every piece of progress, and if you're saying it's not enough, there's more to do, I'm not totally disagreeing.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is we've come this far. Like we have right here in Michigan, right? We have factories rising out of the ground making EV batteries that are going to power a different kind of
Yes,
future.
but what it's
Or it
always
could be
talking about
reversed.
EVs and solar panels. What are we doing to protect our lakes in Michigan? We have 22% of the world's fresh
Yes.
water. We have Pipeline 5 going through the Straits of the Mackinac Island under Mackinac.
Could any like? It's just so annoying. And Pete Buttigieg is incredibly right that she's not gonna.
Bridge underneath the bridge
okay, but
in
on
the
that,
water.
right?
If my candidate is not literally perfect, I will not vote for them. Also, like, what are we doing to protect Michigan's water? It's like, shouldn't you? That's probably more of a state issue.
Right? Again, like she's going to enforce the Clean Water Act. He's going to tear it up. Look at what he did to the EPA the first time, and that's when
But
there
this
was
is the
still
thing. You
some
keep
True.
mentioning stuff about Trump.
True,
but
that as well. The
I'm trying to tell
EPA,
you,
forgot
I'm
about that
between
even.
Jill and Kamala. And this is the thing. Jill is fantastic. She's an activist. She has been doing this for years. And I understand Kamala has also gone against BP when it comes to, anything like that, but I just have a feeling that I would rather change up. I want to change up the situation that we have in America. If you look at Norman Rockwell's painting, it's called The Great Debate. That was 40 plus years ago. It's the same thing that's happening now. 40 years ago, same thing.
He should mention, this is a Michigan voter, right? Aren't they all from Michigan? He should mention the swap your vote thing, okay? You can like sign up to swap your vote. Like if you're in a swing state and you want to vote Green Party and somebody is in a safe state, you can like swap your votes.
We're doing the same thing now. Why do we want to continue the system and not try to change it up for third party?
But do you really feel like nothing's gotten better in 40 years? I get that everything we want to have happen hasn't happened.
Yeah, but
surely things have gotten better.
I don't want history to repeat itself.
For sure.
Thank you.
Not voter registration, swap your vote. Like they there's a whole website dedicated to it. I think it's actually the ratio is like 1 to 2 also. Swing state voters, we will match you with 2 Harris supporters. Exactly, 2 Harris supporters who will vote for your protest or third-party candidate in a solid blue state. So she should do this. If you actually wanna change things up, okay, you can get 2 third-party candidate votes if you're in Michigan and you vote for Kamala Harris and you swap them out.
Sorry.
How you doing? Same here.
So I want to play devil's advocate a little bit, just to
right.
poke or chicken-tag your brain a little bit. When you are looking at things such as, I believe, multiple assassination attempts on Donald Trump, looking at things where he's walked into a position where he has experienced really awful media conversation about him, putting him in horrible lights, comparing him to Hitler, et cetera, justified or not, either way it's happening. And I would say things more on that line when I would say he's made his life harder by running not only once, but losing and then running again. He's been in politics.
Well, he kind of has to, run now because he's trying to get pardon himself for all the indictments that he's involved in.
Years now. How do you look at that and the determination he's in it for himself when I would say he's made his life a lot more difficult? He's a billionaire. He could be sitting up playing golf.
Yeah, no, look, I've heard this argument. Here's what I'd say. First of all, he's made a lot of money off of the presidential campaign. He hasn't just made money by being in business. Matter of fact, if you took the money he inherited and just put it in the stock market, it would be about the same. So most of what he's done in his business.
And he's using his position to, sell NFT, he was selling NFTs, right? And weird trading cards and fucking sneakers that don't even help with his campaign, okay? Like,
has been destroyed.
Just go to him.
But leaving that aside, once he became president, there was a ton of self-dealing going on, right? Folks staying at his hotels who might have had interests before the government that he was running, members of his family cutting deals, including overseas, that they probably wouldn't have been able to cut if they weren't related to the president of the United States. Now, I get what you're saying, that anybody who gets into public service, anybody who puts their name online, anybody who runs for president, takes on a lot of negativity that comes with that. At a different level, I've experienced the negativity of being in public service. My husband and I worry sometimes about our family just because we're out there, and nobody should have to experience that. And one thing we should be able unequivocally to agree on is that nobody should ever accept political violence, no matter who it's directed at and no matter why, right? It is categorically unacceptable, wrong, and disgusting for there to have been an attempt on the life of any political candidate, including him, right? I still think, though, that he didn't do this because he woke up and thought, I'm going to make some sacrifices to help other people, and that's why I'm going to run for president. I just don't believe that. But either way, what I do know... What's that?
Can I ask why I don't believe that?
Because I've never seen him express much interest or concern for others. Like, recently he got a question about childcare. He went on this 2 or 3 minute rant.
Thank you. Good answer.
And the one thing he didn't mention was childcare. Because I don't think he thinks about it that much. It's other people's problems, right? He's interested in his own, mostly his own past. This whole thing about retribution and revenge. I don't know him. I've never been in a room with him. And I've at least met most prominent Republicans in the Senate because of my job. I will admit that I don't know him personally. But a lot of people who do know him, say that he's in it for himself, including his own chief of staff. It's not like
I was going to say, including all of his own former cabinet.
Right? His own chief of staff has some of the most blistering and disturbing things to say about him. But also, I don't know him. I do know her. And it says a lot, I think, about somebody if you come to respect and admire somebody while you're competing.
And if you don't... I would never bring this up because it would get bogged down into a January 6th conversation. But I'm pretty sure on January 6th, when he wanted the Secret Service to, I'm not pretty sure, I know this. On January 6th, he told the Secret Service to take down the magnometers because he said, although people had guns, they're not here to hurt me. He's clearly only thinking about himself. When Mike Pence was rushed to a bunker underground while the mob was breaking into the Capitol, his response was, so what?
Against each other. I got to know her when 20 of us were running for president. We were all campaigning, jostling, each of us trying to get the edge. And
if I have one contest with what you're saying, that sparks a thought in me is, do you think you have a little bit of an innate bias because you know her well, or somewhat well?
Well, I'm definitely on her side, obviously, right? That's why I'm here. Yeah. But there are people in my party who I don't think of as kind of the ideal public servant, right? Just because we're in the same party, don't get me in trouble.
Okay.
Well, let's say just because you're a Democrat, that doesn't mean I'm giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. Okay. But she's somebody who, when I see her, when I've been in meetings with her, the questions she's usually asking are, what's this going to mean to people? For example, she's the kind of person who would say, here's what I'm leaning toward doing. Tell me the best argument against doing that. And I just can't picture him.
Trump would never say that. He would never say that if an advisor... if an advisor tells him anything he's against, like he wants to fucking immediately fire them. That's happened with all the voter fraud investigations, with like all the pressuring to try to get Bill Barr and then Rosen to send out the he tried to get Clark to send out the letter, right? Oh no, I think he tried to get Rosen to send out the letter, and Jeffrey Clark to replace Rosen because Rosen wouldn't send out the letter. Like all this pressuring to try to prove voter fraud that doesn't exist.
I want, especially some of these fierce, wicked challenges coming our way as a country. Her mentality is what I would want to see in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, in just behind the mic, talking to the American people about what to do next.
I think as an average American voter, I personally have a lot of issue with seeing those things that you are seeing as someone who maybe knows her better than, of course, the average American, because I see interviews or different questions that she has, and I feel like I've seen what's called word salad a little bit. I don't feel like I can get.
Oh my God, you get me really saying that with Trump, dude.
And that makes it really difficult for me to view her beliefs and what she would enact as her policies and be like, yeah, I back that. Because I honest to God, don't know what they are.
Don't listen to civil servants, just rely on personal advisors.
So
True.
a big part of her focus is making sure.
And also, he shopped around for lawyers that would support him with his January 6th thing. He wasn't relying on the White House counsel for any of his for example, trying to pressure state officials to overturn their election results, like in Georgia and Arizona. He was relying on Giuliani and Eastman, neither of which had any official position. I don't believe Kenneth Chesebro or Jim Troopis, who had any official position either, if I remember correctly, right? Trump is a word salad bar. I know, it's insane. It's just because we have the expectations are just so low for him.
America is more affordable. That's why she's pushing for a child tax credit. It's why she wants a tax code to be fair versus his tax cuts for the rich plan. He did it before, so pretty confident he's going to do it again. On issues like
tariffs, which
we've already talked about a little bit this morning. She's
also, my audio is lagging now. God fucking damn.
Somebody who wants to make sure that we expand the work we've done to deal with carbon pollution. On access to abortion, she wants to make sure that women have that right restored, right? He took it away. She wants to bring it back through legislation.
I think...
That's okay.
Nice to jump out. So, as someone who says they know Kamala's character probably more than any of us here,
leaning third party.
My sort of criticism of the campaign thus far, and it's kind of due to the circumstance of Biden dropping out so soon next to the race. I don't think I've been convinced enough by the campaign. I don't think I've had, they've said, word salad, stuff like that. In terms of policy, I'm not really too sure. And I can say this is not just me, because the polling numbers didn't really change after the debate. I don't think either candidate did a good job at the debate. I think it was one of the worst debates we've ever watched. It's ugly. So just in your eyes, what...
So I feel differently. Maybe that's to be expected. I felt like she won the debate for this reason. I felt he was mostly talking about himself or people he wanted to demonize, right? The whole thing, they're eating cats or whatever, right? I mean, that was his big thing. And she was talking about what she would do to solve problems. Now, look, with all of the glare of a presidential campaign, it is hard for somebody's full...
And Trump was... just unhinged the entire time and super angry about crowd sizes, but
character to come through.
Although clearly the moderators were biased.
And it's hard to get that out in some of these formats. But I actually thought the debate...
Third party means another zero useful opinions. Don't be... Listen, okay? Maybe he's just really... Maybe he's actually doing the vote swap. Maybe he just wants to do a protest vote.
She will differently. But I thought the debate, you could really tell the difference between what he cares about, mainly him, and what she cares about, which is the stuff she wants to do. Her whole point about how he's going to come in with an enemies list, she's going to come in with a to-do list, right?
Yeah.
Is that somewhat convincing to you?
Yeah, that's fair. I would probably never vote for Trump. It would be more like she said between Kamala and
okay, then please, because a big part of what we're trying to do is reach out to folks who aren't going to vote for him, but they're deciding whether or not to vote. Yeah. And what I want voters like you to hear is anything but a vote for her works out to being a vote for him right now.
Yeah.
Because this is a swing state.
True.
You live in Michigan, right?
Yep.
In a few days, either it's going to be him or it's going to be her. And it could come down to a couple votes for precinct, and one of those might be you.
It could be. I just, as a principal rule, don't really agree with the two-party system. I would do anything to completely demolish.
Please, swap your vote. Swap your vote. Please, swap your vote. I don't know if Pete Buttigieg knows about that. I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe there's arguments against the politician promoting a swap your vote thing, because I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court said that you are allowed to do the swap your vote thing, but it's and maybe you can make it. Maybe it's ethically questionable, but please swap your vote.
Watch it. I think if the founding fathers saw what we had today, they would riot with their muskets out of the grave.
I mean, they didn't want parties. It's true, right? You read a lot of the early statements of the founders, and they were like, "Watch out for this." Of course. And here we are.
Thank you so much.
Good talking. My next claim is the economy, especially here in the industrial Midwest, will be better off under Kamala Harris.
We hear a lot about Vice President Harris's plan for her economy, and it has to do with housing, it has to do with tax credits, but we don't hear about what it has to do with manufacturing. Whereas when we hear President Trump's talk, even though I don't necessarily agree with tariffs and things along those lines.
At least he doesn't disagree with the tariffs. I mean, would like to see Kamala talk more about like industrial policy. It doesn't seem like she's touting like she's not even like celebrating the success of like the Inflation Reduction Act and Chips and Science Act on some of the things it's done well with battery and solar panel manufacturing and chip manufacturing. I would like to see her talk more about it, but like at least she's not talking about actively destroying it with universal tariffs. Like,
he does talk about manufacturing in states such as ours that relies heavily on that. Yeah. And as you alluded to earlier with EV credits or EV, battery manufacturing, things like that. Yeah. How do we see an increase in that manufacturing in our state? We haven't heard anything about that.
So I'll grant you that he talks a good game about manufacturing. He brings it up everywhere he goes. I'd like for us to do even more of that on our side. But I would start by saying results, right? So people sometimes are asked to forget about this, but there was a manufacturing recession under Trump, even before COVID. And obviously we all know what happened with COVID. Right now, there's more investment in putting up factories in the United States than
True.
Anytime.
All of it, he should mention. Yeah, I mean, this guy said he wasn't in favor of the tariffs, but the still tariffs that Trump did and Biden, I probably can't imagine it. Probably actually because Biden kept some of them in place, had really negative effects on America's
there's never been
manufacturing.
time. Hopefully, you've seen it. Where do you live in the state?
Just north here.
Okay, so definitely in the middle part of the state. Some of it's around EVs, some of it's more traditional manufacturing, some of it's like clean tech, some of it's stuff like data centers. But I've never seen a moment when you had this many. First of all, just people in the building trades building the factories, and then people starting to get jobs in the factories. I grew up in a city that was
manufacturing employment. Is that like a raw number of manufacturing jobs is like at a all-time high, right? Not all-time high, higher right now than at any point under Trump's presidency. It's at like 13 million. Now, as people will point out, as Cam Higby likes to point out, people like him, they would say, "Oh, as a proportion, the jobs are still shrinking because, like, well, yeah." Even if we increase manufacturing jobs by X percent, if the economy is doing well and we increase the amount of other jobs by a bigger percent, by X plus 1%, then like the proportion is still going to shrink even if manufacturing jobs are doing better than ever by the raw numbers at least. But
it's the hometown for Studebaker, and Studebaker died in 1963. And even though that was before I was born, you could feel it the whole time I was growing up. When I became mayor there in 2012, it was 50 years later, and we were still kind of licking our wounds from that. And now, there's investments going on in that county creating manufacturing jobs like we haven't seen, again, like since the Kennedy years. I also think it's really important to look at kind of who's credible on this, right? So I really trust the United Auto Workers, especially because they did not always give Democrats the easiest time. Remember how like they really made first Joe Biden and then Kamala Harris like work for that endorsement. And they're saying, yeah, vote for her, not for him. Right?
And I get the endorsement. I mean, not to interrupt, I get the endorsement, but where is that manufacturing plan coming from? I mean, we haven't heard anything about, this is what I want to do. I want to invest in X to make the United States be the pillar of this, or I want to invest in Michigan so that they can do Y. We haven't heard any specifics. And granted, she's 100 and some days into
I don't think he's entirely wrong there. I don't even think her opportunity economy policy book has too much about manufacturing. But like, again, it's just like at least she's not promising to literally blow it up like
a campaign that I feel like she was drafted into versus wanted to be into, but with specifics.
And I would argue it's a little harder for some of her manufacturing vision to get across because every day we're arguing about like McDonald's or Taylor Swift or like whatever he's decided to change the subject to, right? So it's probably not
true. I mean, I don't know. She meant, I guess she is touting the success of it a little bit. Real factory investment. His name is literally Chad. His name is Chad. I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's that much on it. Make many of the jobs opportunity economy available to those without a college degree. Also fight for a level playing field with China. The American Forward Tax Credit will invest tens of billions to position the United States to compete and win the 21st century. She won't let other countries like China undermine those investments. I don't know. I haven't seen her talk about it very much, but
it's not us not wanting to get a manufacturing message out. It's a lot of noise that we're up against. But part of how it works is a tax structure that encourages investment. It's making sure that we do double down on having stuff like EVs made in places like Michigan, not in places like China, right? So whether you choose to buy one or not, and that's your choice. I hope you buy one that's made by American auto workers and not one made overseas. And that could totally depend on whether the policies that were in the Inflation Reduction.
I hope you buy one made overseas. Globalization is based, although obviously, okay. When it comes to China, I'm being half ironic there, okay? I would prefer you buy a Japanese-made automobile than a Chinese one.
Wait or not. But there's a lot of things in there like the tax credits that bring the manufacturing back onto American soil. That's part of why the manufacturing is happening right now.
Thank you very much.
I think we're looking at the economy kind of on a surface level.
Why not buy a Chinese EV? Are you racist? And I'm not racist. I just think it's worrying that they have more manufacturing capacity than we do because that allows them to outproduce us militarily, which is not ideal. Even if their equipment is worse, if they can produce more equipment faster and for cheaper, then they can outproduce us, and that's not a good thing.
A lot of things, like, all these jobs and stuff like that, right?
It's okay since Japanese ones are made in China anyway. The Japan's our ally, so that's why I would prefer Japanese ones.
Right? But where are they going? Why are we having problems? I think it's because people can't afford anything. We're suffering.
Oh no.
A lot of people are suffering. You can't have a strong economy if everybody can't afford things. People spend when they have the ability to, right? So.
Pete Buttigieg can't answer the correct answer here. The correct answer here is you're wrong and dumb. Let's look at the Fred graph. Real consumption, real durable goods consumption or whatever per person is on a steady upward trend in the U.S. If we just look at Fred, real personal consumption expenditures, there's a little dip during COVID and it's basically back on trend. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it actually jumped up to back to the 2008 trend if we look up frying pan charts. So not only did we personal consumption expenditures, not only did we have a recovery, but we recovered to the pre-2008 trend on it. He can't answer that way because he's a politician and people would say that he's gaslighting voters. But this is the correct answer.
Instead of tax breaks are great and all, but they don't solve the problem. The problem is soft monopolies everywhere. They have the ability to stranglehold people.
Lena Khan, actually. Oh, you know what? He can't say Lena Khan either because Kamala Harris might get rid of Lena Khan. I think we've had really good Lena Khan and the FTC and FCC have had pretty good getting rid of junk fees, pretty strong antitrust enforcement, the one click to cancel your subscription thing, the recent McDonald's ice cream machine exemption to the copyright laws so McDonald's can fix their own ice cream machines now. I think we've had really good antitrust stuff. You could even argue overly strong antitrust stuff in some cases, with the airlines. I'm pretty sure there was a case where they wouldn't let was it JetBlue and Spirit, or it was two budget airlines wanted to merge and they wouldn't let them merge, and then later they ended up going bankrupt. I think we had really good antitrust enforcement, which is part of the reason why I think there's a lot of billionaires who will only be comfortable, supporting Harris if she gets rid of Lena Khan, which is unfortunate, but
they don't want to pay people. They're never going to pay people if they can get away with it. We don't have certain things in place that allow people to get enough money to actually survive.
They should have let them merge. I think there might have been cases where that happens, but I think overall we had really good antitrust.
Final kind of point is, we can talk about military spending and all that, but it's not so much about the actual equipment. Obviously, we need a defense, but what about I think somebody said we're spending $90,000 on a bag of washers, or the high cost of the equipment to make these things is excessive. Who's paying for that? It's us. Yeah. Why is that happening? Why is nobody talking about this? Why aren't we going after these soft monopolies?
Yeah. So I think part of what's really important that you're talking about is that there's more to the economy than
I don't think
the
our
stock
last
market,
point is
right?
really wrong.
I would point out the stock market's at an all-time high because Trump said that if we won, it would crash. But regardless, that's not what decides whether you're living well or not, right? And even if I'm pointing to statistics around the number of jobs or growth, that doesn't mean much if you don't feel like things are affordable. The case I want to...
He's a politician. He has to see. He's a politician, so he can't gaslight voters. Okay, but the correct answer is to gaslight voters. That's the correct answer. To pull up the Fred graph and say you're dumb. Okay, and I don't care about your situation. This is a statistical question, and the statistics are on my side. Okay, that's the correct answer. If he was based, he would do that. But people would hate him if he said that.
Choice in front of us about what's going to make things more affordable. So in his case, it's tariffs, and tariffs will add to the price of things that we buy.
I mean, voter epistemology is so bad that you shouldn't mention the central bank independence, and he does not like central bank independence, and he probably is going to deficit spend more than Kamala. And by the way, a big reason he doesn't like central bank independence, because during his first term, he literally said, if we had lower rates, we could refinance our debt. That's him saying that if we had lower rates, I could spend more money cheaply. Okay,
tariffs have a place up to a point, but the level he's talking about, they estimate it'll be about $4,000 more per family to buy the things that we all buy per year if those plans go through. What she's talking about is trying to make things more affordable with, for example, a child tax credit or measures to get more housing built, because part of why housing is unaffordable is there's not enough supply, right? There's just not enough houses and housing units that have been built, right? So let's do something about it. Let's get more of them built, right? I think that's the focus. And then, what's happening with the tax code. And I totally agree. I don't know the specific example you're describing, but totally agree. We've got to get good taxpayer value, bang for our buck, right? And that doesn't always happen in contracting. It's something that I care about a lot. But I'd also say, prices going up. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
So you said that the economy will be better under Harris and that Trump is basically working for people like him. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I'm curious to know exactly what a president can do with their powers to affect the economy. Because, I mean, we saw under
this is a fair
President
question.
Obama, he tried
but tariffs is a big thing that is within the control of the executive for the most part. That's an authority Congress delegated to the president, essentially. But
a lot of
they
stuff,
could take it
and
back.
Congress said no.
Yeah, and the central bank independence thing, Trump will say is within his unilateral authority, and the courts will probably have to sort that out, whether the executive authority extends to the central bank.
And I don't see the general makeup of Congress changing that much in this election. So what's the plan to actually affect change if, 50 people who have a lot of power are standing against her?
Yeah, so it's a great point. For very good reasons, the president doesn't get to just go and do everything they want. Although I think he wants to, if he gets the chance. It's his whole dictator on day one thing. I do believe it's possible to get things done on a bipartisan basis in Congress, even this Congress. I know that sounds naive, but think about it. That's how the infrastructure bill got done, right? The Biden-Harris administration got a bunch of Republicans, not most of them, but a few Republicans, to work with Democrats to make it happen. Not so much on the Inflation Reduction Act, right? That got actually she had to cast the tiebreaker vote in a split Senate.
Still had to do the old job, even though she has the new one.
Right. There's the president of the Senate job. But I guess a few things I would point to. For one thing, the powers of the presidency go a lot to whether unions get support, because you get to appoint people to the
that's true as well. The National Labor Relations Board did really well under Biden. Yep.
Board, people in the different agencies. And we've really seen a difference between whether unions' concerns and therefore workers' concerns are heard or not. Yeah, partly based on the laws that get passed, but partly, the saying personnel is policy. So the kinds of people he's going to appoint are not going to be the most worker-friendly people. And the kinds of people she's going to appoint will. That's part of the case that I would make. So I'd say,
to a point you made a minute ago, the difference between career civil servants and political appointees, the idea is there's supposed to be comparatively fewer political appointees.
Yes, for sure.
And given that, how much weight does that carry?
So I think it's super important. You definitely want career civil servants, no matter who's in charge, Republican, Democrat, to be able to do their job. But a lot of the decisions that are made, how a law is interpreted, what kind of regulations go into effect. Things like health and safety regulations is a big one. It really matters whether you have more of a pro-corporate tilt or whether you have more of a pro-worker tilt. And I think she's participated in administrations, very proud of being very, very pro-worker, pro-union. I also really think with the right kind of presidential leadership, there could be a bipartisan majority for things like the child tax credit, which that's family policy, but to me, that's also economic policy in a big way. Like putting more money in people's pockets, making it more affordable to be able to raise kids, right? Things like paid family leave. Most Americans think we ought to do it, right? Sure. Republican, Democrat, you name it. That doesn't always mean most members of Congress will do it. But I think with a leader in the White House who puts that really high on the list, that could be achieved. Now, I wouldn't give up on Congress, even though I understand.
Are you sure?
You know what the real based answer would be here too? Again, this would probably come across as gaslighting voters, which is probably why he wouldn't say it, would be to say, you know what Biden also did? Biden approved more oil drilling than, and the environmental people would be mad at this, but he approved more oil drilling than Trump did, okay? We are now making more oil than any country in the history of ever, despite what Trump tells you. We are energy independent, okay? That is something the president also has control over.
Because it seems
believe me, I get it. But you never give up. And there's a lot that a president can do with her legal powers.
What about for people who don't have or don't want to have kids? Child tax credit, paid family. These are things
the
that
earned
should
income
be.
tax credits he wants to expand as well, which it gives money to people who don't even have
I
kids.
agree entirely. But that doesn't speak to.
Sure. And yeah, we're not like J.D. Vance, who says that if you don't have kids, you're like a childless cat lady.
I have
right? Like
4 cats and 2 kids.
Based.
You got it all. But yeah, I mean, that's where things like, I think, addressing student loan debt, things like making sure we have strong support for a public service, people who want to go into public service so that you can afford to go into public service. And again, just a tax code that isn't cutting taxes for billionaires, that cuts service for the rest of us. I think that's a huge deal, whether you're raising a family or not.
Fair enough.
God, listen, despite Pete Buttigieg knows how to perfectly get around all the fucking things you can't mention if you're a politician, like I said, okay? He has good answers despite the fact that he can't gaslight voters and say the economy is good, because if he says the economy is good, he'll be fucking posted on Twitter with people saying, inflation is at 500% if he used my fake made up bullshit stats and he's saying the economy's good. God, he's so goated.
My next claim is Americans will have more rights and freedoms under a Harris-Walsh administration. Hi, same here.
Thanks, Grace.
Grace, good night.
Frankly, I'm shocked that you would make that claim. I think I would love to know what the basis of that is, some specific examples.
Yeah.
They're all gonna fight on the assault weapons ban, aren't
Starting
they?
with freedom of speech.
Sure.
If
Okay,
you could.
yeah, let's start.
And the freedom of speech misinformation. Waltz made that one fucking bad quote. God damn it.
So Donald Trump has said that he wants to revoke the licenses of television networks that have broadcast coverage that he disagrees with. I can't think of
and people burning the flag and deporting pro-Hamas protesters.
a more direct attack on the freedom of speech than a government official or a wannabe government official saying, I want to punish a television network because of their journalism, right? So
what was the fact check? Broadcast networks don't hold licenses. Local stations do, regulated independently by the FCC. The FCC chairwoman responded that they will not revoke licenses over objections from a presidential candidate. Yeah, I don't think that's within his executive authority. Neither is the jailing people for burning the flag, because that's a constitutionally protected right. It's just, I don't know. I would use this more as a character thing than an actual, like, what will happen thing, because I don't think either of those will happen.
Saying, I want to punish a television network because of their journalism, right? So that's how I feel about free speech. There's also more personal rights, a woman's right to choose, my right to have this ring on my finger, that I feel are much more secure if she's in charge than if he's in charge.
And the evidence you have of Donald Trump being against gay marriage or wanting to roll back protections for gay folks to be married is what exactly?
The evidence is that he ran for president with a platform that specifically said in black and white that they were against marriage equality.
For decades, Donald Trump has shifted his stance on gay marriage. In 2020, his wife said he supports it. The Respect for Marriage Act was signed into law in 2022 by President Joe Biden, essentially legalizing same-sex marriage and international marriages nationwide. There was also in the Dobbs decision, I'm pretty sure they did say we should look at the president's I forget the case that legalized gay marriage. It's some last name that starts with an O. I totally forget how to pronounce it. We should look at re-examining that as well. And like most of those were Trump appointed judges, right?
And like this is today.
But we did successfully codify it with the Marriage Rights
So
Act.
they've kind of rubbed that out of the platform since the last time he ran for president. But the people he put on the court are contributing to a majority that already took away a woman's right to choose and doesn't seem very interested in.
And they in that ruling, they also said we should re-examine.
Nor did he do anything to help get that legislation passed.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't think that Roe v. Wade was the appropriate statute on which to be hanging
this is true,
reproductive freedom. And Obama campaigned in 2007. There was a bill introduced to the 110th Congress, H.R. 1964, the Freedom of Choice Act. He campaigned. The first thing I'm going to do as president is sign that bill. Once he was elected, I quote, "Not my highest legislative priority. I don't know why I should actually trust Democrats to enshrine reproductive rights as national law because."
How long did Obama have his whatever trifecta where we could have codified it? Like I haven't heard the not my legislative priority first, but like I doubt people cared as much about it back then because they probably did not think Roe v. Wade was at risk of getting struck down anytime soon, and Obama had other stuff he wanted to do. I don't know. It makes sense. Like he definitely should have done it in hindsight, but
they had the opportunity so many times over the past decades. Most recently in 2009, 2010, they didn't do it. Kamala's coming here and campaigning in Michigan on reproductive freedom. Guess what? It's part of our state constitution.
And more importantly, like I don't even I never engaged with like the legal arguments in Roe v. Wade. Like Roe v. Wade, for all I know, could be a really bad ruling. I really don't know. It could have been like if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was against it. I'd like maybe it like sure. I don't care. Like what I care about is codifying it. Like what I care about is to women have the right to abortion, up to or limit or whatever. Obviously, but and I think Kamala Harris will probably codify that right, and I don't think Donald Trump will. So.
That's manipulation of voters.
Well, I don't think that's manipulation. Look, the whole point of a national right, I live in Michigan, right? But if I take my kids with my husband to their first ever Notre Dame game and I cross the state line, obviously I'm talking about marriage equality, not reproductive freedom here, but just as an illustration of why national right is important. I don't want my marriage to evaporate the moment I cross the Michigan-Indiana state line. What she's talking about is that a national right should be national. It's true, you have great leaders here in Michigan who have taken action at the state level to protect reproductive rights, but since when does civil rights disappear at state lines? And how is it pro-freedom to take away a national protection and say, well, if some state wants to take away this freedom, have at it. We went through this as a country with the civil rights era. We're definitely going through this right now on something like choice, where your rights in Alabama are different than they are in Michigan, right?
I do want to circle back to something you said about the number one thing you have as evidence for Donald Trump being against free speech is that he wants to revoke these licenses
Why are we going
for
back here
coverage he doesn't agree with. To what extent is it untrue coverage?
I think the whole idea of free speech is that people can go on a network and air opinions that you disagree with.
What about social media? Because the Harris-Walsh campaign wants to make it illegal to put misinformation or malinformation on social media.
Well, that's not true.
Well, that's what he said, and that's what she said.
Kamala Harris said of social media in 2019. Oh my God, another 2019 quote. God damn it, I hate 2019 Kamala so much. If you act as a megaphone for misinformation, we're going to hold you accountable as a community, adding that she would use the Department of Justice to do so. God, fuck you, Kamala Harris, 2019.
And it's not really true. I mean, look, nobody has made more...
I thought she was going to bring up the fucking Tim Walz quote that he had to walk back.
Statements about being willing to use the powers of government to shut down people who disagree with them than Donald Trump. And you think it's okay to shut down the license of a TV station?
I didn't say that.
Okay, I thought that was implied in your question. You said, what if it's untrue information that they're broadcasting?
Well, I'm just asking. He says a lot of off-the-wall things that certainly, I'm not, and I don't stand behind a lot of what he says, but just if he's angry about coverage that is manipulative towards people, that happens a lot. I'd like to...
the whole idea of free speech is that the government doesn't get to decide.
Certainly, but then you have...
And Donald Trump doesn't get to decide.
Certainly, but I don't want...
Thank you for the sub, Andrew Correa. I appreciate it very much. YouTube subs help out a lot right now. Thank you very much. We are very close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. If you are watching on either Twitch or YouTube or Kick, !, YouTube in the chat, hit that subscribe button. Thank you
Kamala
very
Harris
much.
also to decide.
And neither does she, right? That's the point.
But
She's not going to
that's
threaten the licenses of stations that cover her unfavorably.
But they
she never
threatened
has. He
the
has.
Section 30, whatever it is, for social media.
Not based on unfavorable political coverage. Unfavorable.
But they
she never
threatened
has. He
the
has.
Section 30, whatever it is, for social media.
Didn't Republicans get around to doing that too during COVID? I think they were really upset about Section 230. I think it was Section 230, right? During COVID, Republicans did not like that either. Section 230, COVID, social media. What the fuck did I click on Google Scholar? Yeah, I think it was about like misinformation about healthcare stuff. Democrats seek pair to back Section 230, responsible health misinformation. What's this?
Media.
Not based on unfavorable political coverage. Now there is an idea that social media companies need to be more accountable.
This is a Democrat thing. I'm pretty sure Republicans also got around to not liking Section 230 for a different reason, but I forgot which at this point. If I just look up Republican Section 230, it might come up.
Or their choices, especially when you look at how they're harming women and girls, for example, by what goes out on Instagram, right? But that's not the same as a free speech debate.
And their censorship Republican committee. Republican midterm agenda, Section 230. Overall debate is embedded with blah, 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 blah. It protects social media companies. Health Republicans' Big Tech Accountability Platform. As of 2021, part of the Big Tech Accountability Platform, Republican on the Staff for Energy and Commerce Committee released a memo outlining proposals to guide the Republican legislative agenda. The legislative roadmap was later used to develop a conference package. The legislative reauthorization of Section 230. Never mind that, I'm wrong.
All right. So
wait, Republicans and Democrats both want to repeal part of digital content law. So am I right? Hold on. I swear I remember this though. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act predates many of the current targets of Republican anger. Companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter. Republicans aren't the only ones who gripes about 230. Why do Republicans want to repeal it? An executive order signed in May last year, Trump attempted to limit these legal protections to no avail. Oh, so even Trump doesn't like it.
Yeah, well, hopefully I've had a chance to make the case for Kamala Harris to you. I know that I'm simultaneously speaking to some people who come at this from a more conservative perspective and are deciding whether to go for Trump even though they're not sure. Others who are coming from a more left-of-center perspective and deciding either whether to vote third party or whether to vote at all. What I'm urging you to consider is that one of two things will happen, and that in a state where it's this close, and you all are kind of in the center of the political universe as Michigan voters, if you want to prevent the bad outcomes and deliver the good ones. I hope you've heard from what I presented that I'm not just here talking about what I believe in blocking, but what I believe in building, that we will have a better country. I'm not saying it's perfect.
A really good January 6th didn't even come up once. Infrastructure is never sexy unless it's done on roads and bridges. True.
None of us is perfect, but that we will have cleaner water and safer communities. And one more thing we didn't get to talk about as much, but I think.
But even roads and bridges, Biden actually did get. It was the one that finally got like funding passed for that. The very sexy infrastructure project that there's one specific bridge. I think it's in Pennsylvania. That like both Obama, Trump, and Biden have all stood in front of and said, we're going to fix this bridge. And then Biden, I think, is the only one that actually got the congressional funds to do it. Obama, Trump, Biden, bridge. President have been promising to fix this bridge for years. Now it's Biden's turn. This bridge, it's Ohio, the Ohio-Kentucky border. I think Obama stood in front of this, Trump stood in front of this, and they all said they're going to fix it.
It mattered to a lot of folks, definitely a lot of undecided folks. Actually get politics out of our face just a little bit so we can have like maybe a normal Republican Party to debate issues on a normal basis with the Democratic Party, and maybe more parties emerge, but just to not have politics punching us in the face all the time, every time you look at Instagram or the news. I think that also is something we could achieve. But if you feel that way, and if you're skeptical of him, and if you're willing to give her a chance, I'm urging you not just to withhold your vote from him, but to use your power to make sure that she becomes the next president of the United States.
Oh man, I wanted the again. I don't know if a politician should ever mention this, but like, you can swap your vote. You can do the swap your vote thing. If you actually, it's actually, one swing state vote to two safe state votes. So actually, if you are thinking about voting for Jill Stein, you can double the votes for Jill Stein by swapping your vote, where you vote for Harris and then two people in a safe state vote for Jill Stein. You can double your protest vote. Okay, so.
Before
Republicans
hearing
voted
Pete
against the infrastructure bill, but when it passed, they also I'm pretty sure they, I don't want to say gutted it. I still think it was like net positive overall, but they decreased a lot of spending in it. Yeah, but when it passed, they went home and took credit for the jobs. True. Didn't Biden literally have to put up signs saying like this is funded by the Biden infrastructure bill? Yeah, they're very happy to take credit for good things that they did not do, that they voted against.
He did give me some clarity and answered some questions that I had.
I am leaning more towards voting no, but it's more because of the keeping the other guy out. I can't write down my grievances on the ballot anymore and submit that because it's not going to work this time. That's unfortunately how it is.
My plan moving forward, just this next week, is to just try to educate myself as much as I can on the particular issues that both parties are raising, and hopefully by next Tuesday, I feel sound in my judgment.
I still want to vote. I still want to contribute. I just don't know if I want to contribute to the Democrats or the Republicans at this point.
After hearing Pete Buttigieg speak to us this morning, he convinced me slightly that a vote being abstained is a vote for Trump. I think I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
My original vote was for Trump, but now I'm leaning towards third party. I had a really productive conversation with the older gentleman next to me. He was a lifelong Republican, and he's not even going to vote for him.
Before speaking to Pete being here,
better,
I was
I guess.
undecided. Through other conversations here, I feel not voting is definitely wasting a vote. And too many people before me, made it, sacrifice so I could vote.
It is important to me to vote. However, I don't think I can in good conscience cast a vote without feeling very confident in the one for whom I'm voting.
At the conclusion of this event, I did mark down Trump as a selection. It's not a vote necessarily for Trump. It is, I think, a commitment to vote.
I decided to vote for Harris because of personal rights. As a woman, I need rights to protect me and also my children, my grandchildren.
Major change doesn't come about when you do the same thing over and over and over again.
Damn.
So I want to see a drastic change, especially when it comes.
Sailor. She linked her fucking LinkedIn. Are you kidding me? Link your Instagram, okay? What the fuck? I sent her a DM and I'm like, because sometimes I reach out to the Jubilee people, like I said, because it'd be interesting. It's interesting to like try to debate them because they're like regular people, but also I can clickbait them because we're in a popular YouTube video still. She linked her. Do I have a LinkedIn account? God damn it.
Like I said, to the environment. Jill Stein is going to do that.
Before hearing Pete speak today, I was pretty undecided. I wasn't going to vote at all, actually, but after hearing him, I feel like I'm going to vote for Harris.
God, I have to, most recent job title. I don't have it.
Crime is going down. I expect it to continue to go down with her and not go well with him.
No vote, still 11. Damn. Oh, after. Sorry. It went down to 3. Okay. Looks like you did a pretty good job.
It was a really engaging conversation. Heard so many different perspectives and had a chance to make my case directly to people who are still making up their minds about how to vote or about whether to vote at all.
I told Pete I would vote for Pete. I wish I could vote for Pete. Nothing stifled him. He had an answer for everything that came at him.
Pete did a really great job kind of making me not want to vote for Trump, but he didn't do a great job making me want to vote for his candidate.
Well, one thing that I found encouraging is that these were all undecided voters who are also very well informed. They're not undecided because they haven't been paying attention. They're undecided because there are a lot of things that they care about, and they're working out how that is going to inform their decision.
I vote Pete 28 or 32. Yeah, I do like people to judge. Again, I think he literally is like the best when it comes to these type of interviews and like answering questions and stuff. And I like it. If I was old enough to vote in the 2020 primary, I probably would have voted for Pete. I feel like I would have, but if you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon 420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.